Okay.
Okay, I don't know how else to do it. I've lost my records as to what we had.
Okay.
So, hold on. Number one.
Um, solve for x. So subtract this x, divide by 5. You have 4/5. Or, sorry, yeah, 4/5.
Okay.
10 times 4/5. I don't know that off the top of my head. 8. So x equals 8. So 10 times 8. So 10 times 4/5 is 8. So 8 plus 3 is 11. So it'd be C.
Yeah. Now, notice one thing about this problem, and it actually got me in a little bit of trouble. Hold on a minute. Let me get my writing tablet open here. When I first looked at this, a lot of times the SAT will give you shortcuts. In other words, they would say that, and then they would say, well, what is this? What would 10x plus 12 equal? Without solving for x.
Y?
No, without
Or
solving for x,
that's all of
what
x.
does 10x plus 12 equal to?
20?
Yeah. In other words, it's exactly twice as much as that.
Okay.
And when I first looked at this problem, I thought that's what it was. 10x plus 3 looks like twice as much as that, but it's twice 5x, but it's half of 6. So you cannot use that technique.
Hmm.
But I would say more often than not is you would see a problem like that, where they would give a little bit of advantage to the people who recognize that 10x plus 12 was exactly twice as much as 5x plus 6. So you wouldn't have to solve for x. You could immediately answer 20. But this problem's a little different. 10x plus 3 is not a multiple of 5x plus 6. So you really do
Mm-hmm.
have to solve for x. And you did it exactly right. And 11 is the answer. Hold on a minute. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. I don't see a zoom button anywhere. Where's my zoom button? Can you read that all right?
Um,
Let me write it.
yeah. um,
So they're basically saying solve this system of equations. Well, how would you solve it? And we can look at the answers, but in this case, the multiple choice is not really going to help us much. We need to be able to solve this system of equations.
So it's gonna be solved by elimination.
Okay? Let's first.
So multiply equation 1 by 2. So you have 2x plus 2y equals 0. And equation number 2 stays the same as 3x minus 2y. There you go. And then, so you have 5x equals 10.
In other words, you add the two equations.
Divide by 5 and x equals 5. 2, sorry, 2. I don't know. I can't think today.
All right. Now, the question, they really do give you a break here. In other words, once you've solved for x, you don't actually have to solve for y because they only gave you one choice that had 2 as the x answer. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How would you solve for y? What is y? Which equation
So
would
you
you use to solve for it?
the original equation number 1,
Okay, so what's y?
-2.
Yeah, so that is definitely answer B. But always look for shortcuts on these tests. In other words, once you solved for x and you did it in the most reasonable way to eliminate y and solve for x, then you actually have your answer. You don't really have to do it. You don't have to solve for y because they only put one answer on there that had 2 as the x coordinate. So always be aware that they generally put shortcuts on here for the people that really truly understand it. That's not, how the heck do I blow this up in a PDF file? View. Wow, that doesn't help. There we go. Sometimes you just have to understand Windows. I installed my old Windows 10, but then I updated it, and it turns out to be significantly different. I'm still having to master the learning curve on my latest Windows 10 system. All right, number 3.
Um,
Let's break it down. 60 plus 12 times n plus h. Okay? If you're not sure, you have a minute to do this problem on average. So let's substitute some numbers. What if you had n of 3 landscapers, and h is 5? They each worked 5 hours. So what's the 12 represent?
um, it's affecting the landscapers, isn't it? N.
Well, if n is 3, substitute 3 for that. If they each work 5 hours, substitute 5 for h. And now the 12 tells you that your total cost is going to be 12 times the number of landscapers times the number of hours they work. So it's 12 bucks per hour per landscaper. And always look for a reasonable number. 12 is certainly a reasonable number, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's difficult to explain, actually. But can you see why the 12 is what you would pay them per hour?
Yeah.
N being the number of landscapers, H being the number of hours that each landscaper works.
Mm-hmm.
So N times H times their hourly wage gives you what I've circled. The 60 is a fixed cost. That's what the landscaping company charges. All right. Number 4. All right. Let's talk about something. This is something that it really behooves you to memorize. Both that and this. If you memorize these, you'll be able to answer problems like this much easier. Okay? Now, all of these have a plus sign in there. So it's clearly this one, not that one. Now, go through each of these answers and see what produces this answer. Well, what's the first one produce?
9a to the 4th.
Okay. So immediately that tells you that C and D can't be right.
Yeah.
Because C produces 81a to the 4th. And D produces 81a to the 4th. So immediately you know that it has to be either A or B. And in fact, has to be A just from that information alone. Right? Because A produces 9a to the 4th, which is that term, but B actually produces 81a to the 4th. Notice that with B, you would have to take 3a to the 4th power. So there's no way you're going to get 9a to the 4th. You'd get 81 to the 4th. So all you have to do is test answer A, and you immediately figure out, well, my A is 3a squared, which turns into 9a to the 4th. My B is 2 times A times B, which turns into 12a squared B squared. That's all you need to know to figure out the answer. Well, not totally, I guess. And then finally, the third term would be B squared, which would be 4b to the 4th. In other words, you need to be able to do answer A. You need to be able to square that and see whether that's equal to that term. Now, let's just talk about this for a second, because this is the most common mistake in algebra. What is this equal to?
X squared plus x plus 1.
Very close. X squared plus 2x plus 1. Remember, the middle term is 2 times A times B.
Mm-hmm.
Well, A times B is x, times 2 is 2x. Okay? So as long as you can do this problem, you're in good shape. Because now, if I gave you 3x plus 2y, quantity squared, what is that going to give you? Do it based on your memory of what a binomial squared is equal to.
So 9x squared plus
2 times this times that.
so 12x squared y squared.
Just xy.
XY. Okay.
Notice that, again, it's 2 that times that.
Okay.
So you get an x squared or a y squared.
Plus 2y plus 4y squared.
Right. That's how you want to square stuff. Using your knowledge of what a plus b quantity squared is. And that's the exact problem this was. Only a and b instead of, well, no, it's not quite the same problem. But it's similar. All right. What are you covering in algebra right now?
We did an intro to it today. We're doing probability.
Okay. It's good stuff. It's been a couple weeks since we've had a session, so I would think you would want to be covering some of the stuff you're working on, especially probability.
We really didn't get any homework today.
All right,
so.
That's fine. That's fine. But along with probability, you're going to probably cover a little more statistics and maybe trig, maybe vectors, and all kinds of new stuff.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we cover some of that stuff because you've never had most of that stuff before. In other words, it's not stuff you're going to get in geometry or Algebra 1 class. All right, number 5. What's the first step?
Substitute the x with 7 and add the 7 over.
Okay. So far.
Square both sides.
Okay.
Subtract the 17. So you get 32. Then divide by 2. So k squared equals 16. K equals 4.
K actually equals plus or
minus 4.
That's okay.
But it says k is equal to 0.
Yeah,
greater than
instead k has to be greater than 0, so that eliminates the minus 4 and gives plus 4 is the only answer. I'm not real fond of this problem because it encourages students to not answer plus or minus. In other words, I would have actually preferred their answer be plus or minus 4. Because in truth, the answer is plus or minus 4, had they not restricted k to be positive only. Okay, how are we going to solve number 6? What does it mean that line L is parallel to line K? What does that mean?
It means they have the same slope, different y-intercept.
Key is same slope.
Okay.
What's the slope of line L?
-5 over -2. So 5 over 2.
Rise over run. Not
oh, yeah, yes. 2 over 5. 2 over 5, sorry.
2 for this. So that's also the slope of line K, 2/5, because they're parallel. And then how would I figure out the slope of line K? Based on the coordinates. It's the rise.
-4 minus 0.
Okay.
So
There's
negative
nothing
4.
that keeps you from going that way. Hold on. -4 minus 0 is -4.
Yeah.
0 minus a -4 would be +4. And they kind of like you to do it that way. It's y⁻² minus y⁻1. But you can do it this way. There's nothing wrong with going y⁻1 minus y⁻², as long as you do x⁻1 minus x⁻². So what's the denominator?
It would have to be -10, so p would have to be 10.
Hold on. Just let's write it. Minus p, first of all. 0 minus p, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you just have to solve that equation. So you get minus 2p equals minus 20, p equals 10. Sometimes you get about 3 steps ahead of me. And that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. It's just hard for me to follow it when you do that.
Okay.
So when we're working through these problems, it's more useful and helpful if you do every step.
Okay.
Okay? In other words, this is a critical step right there. What I have circled is the slope, which is 2/5, equals 0, or the way you did it was -4 minus 0, which means you have to do 0 minus p in the denominator. And that gives you -4 over minus p. And then you have to solve that equation. And you get p equals 10, but I'm not sure how you did it so quick. I'm not going to question it, though. Especially on a test where speed is valuable. Yeah, this looks like a good one. Do you remember any of these?
No, I don't.
No, I don't either. I don't think I've done these with anybody. Wow. So what's the first thing we can say based on this? What do you do when you're dividing same base, different exponents?
Subtract.
So what equation can I write?
A squared minus b squared equals x to the 16th, or 16.
Just
Sorry, 16.
16.
Yep.
All right? Now that's huge because factor the left. What do you get?
Factor the left?
Yeah, difference of perfect squares. Always, when you see difference of perfect squares, you can almost be certain that you're supposed to factor. They don't give you difference of perfect squares accidentally. When they give it to you, it means you got to factor. How's the a squared minus b squared factor?
A plus b, a minus b.
So that's equal to 16. And they tell you that a plus b is 2. What's a minus b equal to?
8.
Good. Cole, I have a 4 o'clock. I will make a note as to how far we got here. And
All right.
hopefully, I've been making notes all along. It's just that all my notes got deleted when my hard drive crashed. And
Yeah.
I didn't have them backed up. So I will restart my notes and note that we made it through number 7 of test 2.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, Cole, talk to you next week. Have a good week.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.